Nothing to do with this worksheet up here, but I want to concentrate on the actual questions. The chemical reaction type is something that we'll get into maybe next week, but what I want to do today is basically talk about word equations. So I've already explained how we have to, what do you call that? Follow the law of conservation of mass by balancing equations. And so the next thing I want to do is talk about how we go to form chemical equations or formula equations. I did upload the PDF version of the chapter to GC just before I logged on here. So these are all examples of what are called word equations. Again, don't pay attention to this, but I just want to focus on the actual question. So what I want to do is try to basically, I guess you could say, translate the word equation into a chemical equation and all of the symbols and formulas that go along with that. This is a great way to practice writing formulas and just getting used to how to translate words into symbols. So I want to break down what each of these statements is actually saying. So the first thing, we've got aluminum nitrate solution. So what does that mean? Well, first we can come up with, let me first clear this. Oh, excuse me. I want to use, let's use blue today. Okay, so aluminum nitrate solution. First, we want to look at what does that mean? Well, we can figure out what aluminum nitrate is because we did that in the past weeks. We practiced doing that. So first, I just want to come up with the formula for that. So we've got aluminum, which is Al. I've got my periodic table here. And let's go +1, +2, +3. -3, -2, -1, so that we have our charges. Okay, so aluminum is here, which means it's +3. So we got +3. And then we have nitrate. Nitrate, remember I told you if something ends with ITE or ATE, it comes from the quote unquote flashcards or the polyatomic ions. So if we remember, that's a terrible N. The formula for nitrate is NO3-. So when we put the formula together, that will be Al, that should be a lowercase l, Al, and then we need a bracket, NO3 bracket 3, because we have to make sure that the +3 and the -1 are equal. So that means that we need 3 times nitrate. Okay, now the second part to this says solution. That actually means something. So solution in this case means that it is aqueous. And aqueous just means it's dissolved in water. Because when we write our formula equations, we also want to account for, hold on. Sorry, I stopped charging. Ugh, come on. There we go. Okay. All right, whatever. Yeah, aqueous means dissolved in water, and that is also called a solution. So there's going to be certain clues in these word equations that will help to identify what state each formula is in. Then the next part of the statement says reacts with, so that means plus, okay? And then we've got sodium hydroxide solution. So again, it's going to be aqueous because solution means AQ. So then we have to put together sodium hydroxide. So we got sodium is Na. Na is in group 1, so it is a charge of +1. And then we have hydroxide. Hydroxide, if you remember, or not, is OH-. So one of each of those together is already equal to 0. I mean, like the charge is balanced already. So that just NaOH. And of course, solution means aqueous. And then we have to yield. Now, yield means to produce. So that means there's an arrow here, okay, to yield. That's what the arrow represents. And then we have sodium nitrate solution. So again, sodium +1, since we have our ions already lined up there. Nitrate, NO3 minus. So that becomes NaNO3. And then it says solution, again, AQ. And then finally, a precipitate, and A means plus. Precipitate, okay. If you don't know what a precipitate means it's a solid. So without getting into too much complicated detail about the chemistry behind it, but basically precipitate is when you mix two solutions together and you form something that's not able to dissolve in water. So it forms a solid. That's a precipitate. And a precipitate of aluminium hydroxide. So again, aluminium, whatever, is +3. Hydroxide is -1. So our formula is Al. Oh, excuse me. Trying to digest my breakfast. AlOH3, and this is going to be a solid. And that solid comes from the word oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Precipitate. Oh, I had scrambled eggs. Okay. Let's go with, how about orange? Okay, I'll try a couple more and then I'll let you try a couple of examples. Solid potassium chlorate. Okay, potassium, I'm running out of room here. Potassium is K+. Okay, just looking at the periodic table, it's underneath sodium. And chlorate is ClO3 -1. So that means that we have KClO3 and it says solid. Is heated to yield, okay? Is heated to yield means is not reacting with anything, but is heated. We can represent that by putting a triangle above the arrow. So the triangle means heat, okay? So is heated to yield is abbreviated with an arrow and a triangle above it. Next, we have solid potassium chloride and oxygen gas. Okay, solid potassium chloride. Again, K is positive, Cl is negative, so that's KCl. And it's a solid. And plus oxygen gas. Now, here's the key to oxygen gas. Oxygen gas is something called a diatomic molecule. Okay, remember I told you that ick in English makes the word an adjective. In this case, it's describing the noun molecule, and then di means two. So it's an adjective that describes the molecule of being made of two atoms. So oxygen is O2. If I say oxygen or oxygen gas, I'm referring to O2. And there are a specific number of elements on the periodic table that are diatomic. We have O2, H2, N2, and all of the halogens. So that's fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and iodine. These 7 elements are diatomic. So if I say fluorine gas, it's F2. Bromine gas, Br2. Nitrogen gas or nitrogen, even if I say hydrogen, it's H2, N2, etc. So if this says oxygen gas, O2, and then of course you can put a G next to it. Okay, so all we're doing today is basically translating words into either chemical formulas and or states. So we're putting together a formula equation or chemical equation. I'm gonna skip number 3 because I don't expect you to know acids. I'll try to make sure that I don't give those to you. Let me do another example and then I'll give you a few to do yourself. All right, in the presence of heat, Ammonium nitrite solid will yield nitrogen gas and liquid water. So again, in the presence of heat, that's going to mean the triangle is called delta. So we've got ammonium nitrate. Okay, ammonium is NH4 plus, sorry, nitrite, I misread that. Nitrite is NO2 minus. They're each 1 plus 1 minus 1, so it already balances. So I can just write it straight out. NH4, NO2, solid will yield, will yield in the presence of heat. So that's where I put my triangle. Nitrogen gas, again, remember I told you nitrogen gas is one of the diatomic molecules. So nitrogen gas is N2 with a G after it, and plus liquid water. Water is H2O, and then an L for liquid.